We live in a world where telling has become more important than doing. We announce our goals before we've taken a step. We post our dreams before we've even dreamed them fully. And we keep explaining, updating, justifying, hoping someone out there will validate the path we're on. But let me ask you, when did we start needing permission to build something great? The most powerful people in the world aren't the loudest. They're not the ones constantly narrating every detail of their journey. They're the ones who move in silence and let the results echo like thunder. Every time you speak your dream out loud before it's ready, you give away a little bit of its power. You let the doubt in. You invite noise into something that's supposed to be sacred. Some things grow better in the dark. Some ideas need quiet, stillness, time. There is a difference between transparency and vulnerability and just broadcasting everything because you're scared to walk alone. Growth is not a group activity. Progress doesn't require an audience, and vision doesn't need a comment section. So, stop telling everyone what's going on in your life. Start showing them through what you create. Don't explain your next move. Don't narrate your process. Build the thing, launch the idea, walk the walk. And when the world finally notices what you've done, they'll ask how. Not because you told them, but because you showed them. You don't need applause. You need momentum. And momentum comes from focused, relentless action. Every word you speak about your life is energy. Use it wisely. You are not obligated to update people. You are not required to explain yourself. You are not here to convince anyone. You are here to become. Let the silence sharpen you. Let the stillness deepen you. Let the results speak so loudly that you never have to say a word. Because when you stop telling and start doing, everything changes. Oversharing dilutes purpose. We all have a purpose. A reason why we wake up in the morning with fire in our hearts. A vision that pulls us forward. But here's the truth that most people won't tell you. Your purpose is not entertainment. It's not content, and it's definitely not a trending topic. Every time we feel the need to explain what we're doing to others, we risk weakening our own conviction. Oversharing doesn't just invite attention, it invites judgment. And when you allow too many voices into your sacred space, the space where your ideas are born, where your courage is tested, where your transformation begins, you dilute the purity of what you were meant to do. Think about it. When you're working on something meaningful, truly meaningful, it doesn't always look impressive at first. It doesn't come with applause. It's messy. It's uncertain. It's private. That early phase where your purpose is raw and unpolished is when it's most vulnerable. And the more people you tell, the more exposed it becomes. You open the door to opinions, skepticism, even subtle doubt, and all of that noise starts to shape your direction. Purpose was never designed to be put on display before it's matured. We've confused validation with vision. We've become so addicted to being seen that we forget to do the real work behind the scenes. But here's the secret. The most powerful breakthroughs happen in silence. Purpose demands your full attention. It requires clarity, discipline, and time. It's not a side show. It's not a highlight reel. When you constantly tell people what's going on in your life, your plans, your goals, your struggles, you inadvertently outsource your sense of direction to the opinions of others. You begin tailoring your journey not to what's true, but to what's popular or palatable. That's the danger. The moment your purpose becomes performative, it loses its authenticity, and when authenticity dies, so does momentum. You weren't born to entertain the crowd, you were born to lead a mission. But leadership starts quietly. It starts when you're willing to walk through the fog of uncertainty without needing someone to cheer you on. When you trust that your actions, not your words, will carry the message. Yes, connection matters. Yes, vulnerability has its place. But when it comes to purpose, not everything deserves to be shared. Some things are sacred. Some things are for you and you alone, until they're ready to stand on their own. When you stop oversharing, you reclaim your power. You protect your focus. You sharpen your intent. You give yourself permission to grow without the pressure of performing. You shift from constantly explaining what you're about to do to actually doing it. So the next time you feel the urge to tell the world what's happening in your life, pause. Ask yourself, am I sharing this because it serves my purpose, or because I need reassurance? If the answer is the latter, go back to work. Get back to the mission, because purpose isn't about being heard. It's about being fulfilled. And fulfillment starts when you stop giving away pieces of your journey before it's even begun. Let them see the result, not the rehearsal. That's how leaders move. That's how purpose stays pure. Clarity thrives in silence in a world obsessed with noise, constant updates, endless notifications, and the pressure to be visible. Silence has become a revolutionary act. But here's the paradox. The more silent you become, the louder your clarity speaks. When you stop telling everyone what you're doing, you give yourself the chance to truly listen to your intuition, your deeper purpose, your next right move. Silence is not emptiness. It's space to think, space to feel, space to align. Most people confuse movement with progress. They think talking about the destination is the same as moving toward it. But talking is easy, talking is comfortable. Silence is where the hard work begins. Because in silence, there's no audience to impress, no one to validate your ambition. Just you, your thoughts, and the question, am I really walking the path I've chosen, or am I just making noise? Let me be clear. Silence is not about secrecy. It's not about hiding. It's about honing. It's about stepping back from the spotlight long enough to gain perspective. When you fall quiet, when you stop explaining and start observing, something powerful happens. You begin to see the road ahead with sharper focus. Distractions fade, doubt dims, the fog lifts. Have you ever noticed how the clearest insights come when you're away from the crowd? When you're on a walk, in the shower, driving alone, sitting in nature, that's not a coincidence. That's your mind finally finding enough stillness to sort through the noise and recognize what really matters. Clarity doesn't compete with chaos, it waits for it to pass. And that's why silence is so powerful. It creates the stillness required for clarity to emerge. When you stop telling the world your every move, your energy stops scattering in all directions. It stays with you, it gathers, it strengthens, and from that place of strength, your purpose becomes laser-focused. Here's what happens when you make silence your strategy. Instead of reacting to what people expect from you, you start responding to what your soul is telling you. Instead of adjusting your goals to fit someone else's timeline, you take control of your pace. And instead of allowing others to narrate your story, you become the author of your own clarity. And here's the truth. The people who are most clear about where they're going don't need to announce it. They don't need to explain it. They just move. Confidently, consistently, quietly, because they know that clarity is not found in a crowd. It's cultivated in solitude. Silence isn't a lack of communication. It's the deepest form of communication with yourself, and when that relationship is strong, nothing outside of you can shake your foundation. You begin to act with intention, not impulse. You begin to lead with purpose, not popularity. So stop trying to make everyone understand. Stop explaining your every step. Go silent. Not because you have nothing to say, but because what you're building is too important to interrupt. Trust the process. Trust the stillness, and most of all, trust that clarity always comes to those brave enough to pause long enough to hear it. Because in the end, the quietest moments often hold the loudest answers. Let your results talk in a world driven by declarations, promises, and public affirmations. We've confused words with worth. We've become so eager to tell people what we're going to do that we've forgotten the power of simply doing it. The truth is this: the most influential voices don't shout, they don't oversell, they let their results speak. Talking is easy, execution is rare, and in the space between those two lies everything that defines your legacy. We live in a culture that rewards performance over purpose. Social media has made it effortless to broadcast every move. I'm starting this. I'm building that. Watch what's coming next. But here's the secret no one wants to say out loud. The people who are truly making an impact are too busy building to keep explaining what they're building. You don't need to prove your potential with a post. You don't need to win approval before you've even taken a step. If what you're working on really matters, if your mission is rooted in something authentic, then stop trying to sell it with words. Let the results tell the story. Results are undeniable. Results don't argue. They don't need defending. They don't need hype. They are the evidence. When you deliver, people notice, not because you beg them to, but because the truth always surfaces. It always finds the light. The most inspiring people didn't gain influence by promising. They gained it by producing. They didn't say, "Look at what I'm about to do." They just did it, and the world couldn't ignore it. Letting your results talk isn't about being silent. It's about being strategic. It's about understanding that words can never replace proof. Every time you choose to speak through action rather than intention, you separate yourself from the noise. You show rather than tell, and that's where trust is built, not in the pitch, but in the performance. You see, people don't follow ideas. They follow evidence of those ideas working. They follow courage in action. They follow results that move them. So don't worry about convincing anyone. Don't stress about making people believe in your vision. If the vision is real, if the effort is relentless, the outcome will say everything you could never put into words. Think of every great innovator, leader, creator. You'll realize they weren't posting daily about what they plan to do. They were quietly obsessed with getting it right. Their fuel wasn't applause, it was progress. And that's what set them apart. So the next time you feel the need to declare your next big thing, pause. Ask yourself, would I rather be known for what I said I'd do or what I actually did? Let that guide you. Because when you focus on execution, results become your loudest statement. And those who doubted, they become silent. Those who waited for you to fail, they fade. And those who believed in you from the start, they rise with you because they saw not just your promise but your proof. Let your results be the roar that follows your quiet work. Let them be the legacy you leave behind, because when your results speak, you don't have to. Preserve energy for execution. There's a finite amount of energy we wake up with each day, and how we spend it defines who we become. Some people spend it trying to be seen. Others spend it proving they're on the right track. But the people who make the greatest impact, the ones who shift industries, build legacies, change lives, spend their energy where it counts, on execution. The truth is, every time you share your next move prematurely, every time you explain what you're building before it's built, you're leaking energy, and not just any energy, your creative energy, your focus, your momentum. That subtle pressure to impress, to explain, to convince others of your vision, it steals the very power you need to bring that vision to life. We don't talk enough about how energy is your most valuable currency. Not money, not time, energy. Time without energy is useless. Money without energy has no direction. But energy, that's what moves ideas from thought to reality. And energy scattered is energy wasted. There's a reason some people seem to produce with unstoppable force. It's not just talent or opportunity, it's discipline. Discipline to protect their energy like it's sacred. They don't need to be in every room. They don't need everyone to know what they're doing, because they understand that explaining the work can never replace doing the work. And this is the mistake many people make. They spend their mornings hyping up their dreams online, and by noon they're too drained to build them. They confuse motion with progress. They confuse broadcasting with becoming. And at the end of the day, they're left with applause, but no advancement. If you want to lead, if you want to build, if you want to create something that outlives your name, then your energy must be protected. Guard it from gossip. Guard it from overexposure. Guard it from the need to perform before you produce. Because here's what happens when you conserve your energy for execution. Your work gets better. Your focus sharpens, your ideas evolve, your results compound. You move in silence, but your presence grows louder. You don't need to hype the process, people start to feel the outcome. This isn't about hiding. This isn't about shrinking. It's about strategic silence. It's about having the courage to keep your head down while the world is watching for a shortcut. It's about building a foundation so solid that when it finally shows up in the world, it can't be shaken. And yes, it might feel lonely at times. Yes, you might want to explain yourself. You might want to respond to the critics, the doubters, the ones who don't understand, but silence is not weakness. It's strength in its most focused form. So preserve your energy like a warrior before battle. Don't waste it on unnecessary words. Don't give it away to opinions that haven't earned your trust. Pour it into the craft. Pour it into the plan. Pour it into every action, every step, every decision that moves you forward. Because when you stop spending your energy on being understood, you gain the energy to become undeniable. Execution is what separates dreamers from doers. So keep your energy sacred and let your results be your thunder. Freedom comes from focus. Focus isn't restrictive. It's liberating. That's the irony most people miss. They think focus limits their freedom. If I only focus on one thing, what if I miss something better? But the truth is, every time you say yes to everything, you dilute the one thing that could change everything. Focus is the gatekeeper of greatness. The more you talk about your plans, the more you scatter your energy. And the more scattered you are, the further you drift from alignment. Talking can feel like progress, sharing your life, your moves, your intentions. It gives a rush. It tricks the brain into thinking you're already halfway there. But here's the brutal truth. Progress doesn't come from saying what you're going to do. It comes from doing it, quietly, relentlessly, and with precision. Focus is not just about discipline. It's about identity. When you know who you are and what you're here to do, you no longer feel the need to explain yourself to everyone. You don't chase validation. You don't panic if no one's cheering, because your clarity becomes your compass. And that clarity cuts through the noise like a sword. Too many people live on default. They spend their time reacting to life instead of designing it. They try to be everything to everyone, and end up being no one to themselves. But focus flips the script. It narrows your lane, sharpens your vision, and gives you the courage to say no. Not out of fear, but out of purpose. There's freedom in saying no. No to distractions. No to shallow applause. No to the urge to explain what you're building before it's built. Every no is a yes to something deeper, something more aligned, something that brings you peace instead of pressure. Focus isn't about being obsessed. It's about being intentional. It's about waking up and asking, what matters today? What can I do right now that moves me closer to who I want to become? And then doing it, not telling everyone about it. Not hoping someone notices, just doing it. That's freedom, that's power, because the truth is, clarity brings confidence. When you're focused, your decisions get easier. Your direction becomes undeniable. You stop chasing trends, stop needing constant approval, and start operating from conviction instead of confusion. The people who achieve the extraordinary aren't superhuman, they're just not distracted. They commit, they cut through, they don't allow every voice, every opinion, every new idea to pull them off course. They know that when you protect your focus, you protect your future. So if you're tired of feeling stuck, scattered, or misunderstood, don't try to talk your way out of it. Focus your way through it. Stop sharing your every step. Stop inviting doubt into your process. Build in silence. Execute with precision. Let your growth make the noise, because that's the paradox of focus. The more you narrow your vision, the wider your impact becomes. And when you stop seeking freedom through attention and instead claim it through focus, you don't just move faster, you move on purpose. And that, more than anything, is what sets the truly free apart from the constantly distracted. Focus isn't a limitation, it's a liberation, and in that clarity you'll find not just progress, but peace.